O2.
Look, now David Walliams is here.
Hey!
All right. And he's a comedian, an actor and author. And also, now you have your own musical. Mr. Stink became a musical, of course, now.
Yeah, that's the second children's book I wrote, and it's been turned into a touring musical for children.
It's fantastic. Remind us who Mr. Stink was.
Mr. Stink is a tramp, a very, very smelly tramp, and he's befriended by a girl called Chloe, and they go off and have an adventure together. Yeah, I was delighted. I just got asked, would you like it to be turned into a show? And I said, yes, fantastic, and it's brilliant. Me and Lara, my wife, I'm married now, we went to see it in Leicester last week.
I'm not surprised.
Fantastic. Are you not surprised?
No,
a lot of people were.
I know, but you said that as if we would be surprised. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, some people are, aren't they?
I wasn't surprised.
Really?
No, not at all. How's it going?
How's it going?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, I recommend it.
She's Dutch, isn't she, your wife?
Yeah, she is. Well, she's half English. Her father's English. Are you married?
Not yet, no.
He's going to get
Have you
married.
ever been married?
I've never been married, but I'm moving towards it,
How old are
actually.
you?
We'll do the questions, all right?
50, actually.
That's quite unusual not to be married.
Funny you never married, is what we're
Yeah,
going to say.
I know.
isn't it? Yeah,
That's what
thanks,
my mum
Dave.
used to say about all those actors who used to read the profile of them. Funny you never married.
I know.
I'm going to get married, though. Would you recommend it?
Yes, I would. And I think you've just held out to the last minute, haven't you, really? When you can get married and it's not weird. Is your wife going to be a lot younger than you?
I would have thought so.
It's best to...
They don't get much older than this, do they?
But she looks it. That's the most important thing.
Excuse me, can I just say, we're interviewing David Walliams, okay?
I'm more
Well,
interested.
the tables are turned now, old friend. See how you like it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But, the great thing about you is that you're very engaging wherever you are and whatever you're doing, very urbane. And that's quite an interesting thing because you're remarkably unself-centred, really, in a strange kind of way. I wonder how you got like that. You've always been like that. You're always interested more in what other people are doing and saying than yourself.
Other people are interesting, and of course, how I became successful was through Little Britain. That was me and Matt creating characters. And,
Through observing.
Observing people to some extent. So, yes, I'm always... It's kind of boring talking about yourself, isn't it, sometimes?
I know. No. No, but I'm thinking about some of the characterisations in some of the shows that you've done, even the recent show at the airport and everything. I mean, fantastic, the work that goes into it. And that has to be born out of observation and looking at people's behaviour, right down to the way they move their head and the way they move their arms and the things that they might say and their tics and their quirks.
I know. Well, I think when you're doing a show where in one episode both of us might be playing 10 or 15 different people, you realise they've got to be really different. And so they've got to walk differently if you can do that. As you say, move their head differently, speak differently as much as possible.
Yeah.
And Matt is obviously a master of characterisation. You can do so many voices and convince so many different women.
Is it going to be another series of...
We hope so, yeah. We're doing some other things at the moment. But,
and you're both doing different things.
Yes. I'll promote Matt for a bit. He's going to be in Les Miserables.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
was telling us.
Have you ever seen Les Miserables?
Not for a long time. Not for
No,
a
but
long...
that still means you've seen it.
Yeah, sorry, years ago. He'll be perfect, won't he?
Yeah, because it's a good comic role. So I saw him do it at the O2. It was brilliant.
Here's the thing about you. You've got this thing out which is called Billionaire.
It's a book.
Boy.
It's more than a thing. It's a book.
Why the writing for children then? Well, it seems very
Yeah.
much of a departure for you.
Yeah, why do you do that, Tim?
Yeah.
Well, I realised when we were doing Little Britain and we were doing live shows and signings and things, we'd have huge amounts of kids coming. And I thought it'd be great to do something especially for them. And the first book, The Boy in the Dress, did well, and the second one did better. And this one, Billionaire Boy, has actually sold the most of the three. And there are kids who write to me now who actually don't know me as being on TV. They write to me and say, what would you like to be if you weren't a children's
And
author?
were you kind of inspired by what you'd read when you were a kid?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I reread the books I loved as a kid to
What did you
remind me.
like? Like the Enid Blyton things and all of that?
Roald Dahl, mainly.
Roald Dahl, yeah.
But I used to read lots of Doctor Who novelisations as well.
Did you?
Yeah, which were brilliantly written, because this was the days before repeats necessarily in DVDs and UK Gold. So if you missed it, you had to read the novelisation.
Who is the main character? Tell me about Billionaire Boy.
Okay, it's about a boy called Joe Spud, who's 12 years old, and his dad has invented a new brand of loo roll, which is moist on one side and dry on the other. It's called Bum Fresh.
Right.
I'm trying to find your level.
This is a children's book.
Yeah, children's book. And,
Where did the inspiration come from?
And his dad's a billionaire. He becomes obviously a billionaire because his dad is, but he's lonely. He hasn't got a friend, and it's about his search for friendship.
So there's a serious side to this.
Yeah,
as
there's
in
a
all your
serious
books.
side. I think over a book length, it's different from a sketch, and there's got to be a point and a message for kids.
Did this kind of thing come easy? I mean, did you sit down and write this relatively easily compared to
I was
writing your other stuff?
The time I wrote this book, I was doing this film called Dinner for Schmucks, which is a comedy film starring Steve Carell.
Oh, yeah, I saw you in that.
All right, okay.
I'm
not doing what you're going to say.
It was on Sky. No, it's very good. Yeah, 5 stars. It was on Sky the other day. It was.
I was a Swiss billionaire.
Oh, you were a creepy guy in it, weren't you?
Well, I wasn't meant to be creepy.
Oh.
No, I was like this controlling billionaire. Anyway, and I was on set doing that, and you know it's like making a film, and you're in your trailer for 8 hours. So I thought I'll try and start writing this book, and I did really well at it. And actually, when they would call me and say, "Okay, we're ready for your scene," I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I haven't finished this chapter yet." Slightly forgetting I was actually being paid to be in the movie.
That's fantastic. Well, let me just take a break, and we'll come back and talk some more in a moment. Look, it's David Walliams is here today. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah.
You're listening to the Steve Wright in the Afternoon podcast. It's a massive podcast. Huge. So enormous, in fact, it's called The Big Podcast.
Now we're back with David Walliams, everyone. Yes, we are. The novel is called Billionaire Boy. David has published 2 previous children's books, The Boy in the Dress, 2008, and Mr. Stink, 2009, talking earlier about how that is now a musical. The novel Billionaire Boy is a story about a boy called Joe Spud, who has a lot of reasons to be happy. Joe's very, very rich, has his own bowling alley, his own cinema, even his own butler, who is also an orangutan. He's the wealthiest 12-year-old in the land. So where does it all go from there? Well, you'll have to read the book to find out. And it's funny, when we have authors in, you know how the game works, but we have authors in, we say, tell us about the book. Well, you'll have to read the book.
Yeah. Well, tell us how it starts.
Yeah,
and they don't bother.
Sometimes they don't.
Have you ever had that? I often meet people who say, they've written a film, and then I say, what's it about? And they go, we open on a letter being opened. I think, no, just tell me just generally what it's about.
Because that's like a pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think you've set the scene really well. I love it already. This
thank
rich
you.
boy,
Have you got any?
I've got 4 children.
How old are they?
Well, what I was going to say is, which one is it suitable for, or all? Because I've got 3 boys,
Well,
and
how old are they?
they're 7, 11 and 12.
Well, I'd say they're all in the age range.
And I've got a little girl who's 5, so she's a little bit
She's
too
a
young.
little bit young. It says sort of 9 on the back of the book. But kids read at different
of course they do,
rates, don't they?
levels,
Some
yeah.
kids are reading, Harry Potter books age 4. And
What
stuff.
would you say it's equivalent to? What else is out there in the market that's a similar kind of genre?
that's
Not to
quite
plug anyone
hard.
else, of course, but is it along the lines of Diary of a Wimpy Kid? Is it that kind
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually never read that, but I know it's very popular, so I'll say
Very popular,
yes.
yeah, okay.
It's more or less...
But they say it's very
Cool.
hard to get boys to read. I don't know
Well,
if
it
you
is,
found
but
that with... Because they've got a lot of distractions, haven't they? Computer
Absolutely.
games.
And this is why I think it's fantastic that you've done this. And for me, the more books that there are out there that really appeal to them, because the more of those books they read, the more then they'll move on to some classics that you also want
It's
them to
hard
have
to
a look
get
at.
hard to get boys started because there's so many other things they'd rather do. And I often I'm in the supermarket and people come up to me and say, "Thank you so much. My son never read a book until he read yours."
You would think if somebody's, and I don't mean this nastily in any way, if somebody's writing a children's book, you think, oh, that's the nice, easy way out. But actually, it isn't, is it? It's very difficult to write for a specific age. It's more difficult than writing
I think it's
adult.
hard, especially coming from doing a comedy show for adults, because used to being able to pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
And then you need to tailor it for this audience. And also just express things as simply as possible. So sometimes that's a challenge. But it's really just finding the right sort of level of humour that's the main thing I want these books to be, funny.
But did you find you wrote something and then you went back and thought, no, that's far too deep?
I didn't think it, but the editor
The
thought
editor.
it.
Yeah. But in a sense, the editor is important, especially with the kids.
But what I do is, when I do the first draft, I always put in things that I know they'll definitely want to take out because they're really rude. So I kind of have those battles. I let them win those battles. I go, well, no, can I keep this
and
bit?
slip other things through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good. Because you learned that from television, right?
Yes, I know. Because we were on the BBC and there's obviously things you can say and can't say on TV.
Oh, by the way, are you taking the mickey on that trailer, or is that for real on Sky?
It's real. I'm doing a show for Sky called Wall of Fame, and
Oh.
it starts next Friday at 10 o'clock.
Oh,
there
that's-
I'm plugging something else now.
yeah.
It's a comedy panel show.
Oh, okay. And this is the thing with the wall.
There's a wall with sort of famous faces behind me, and all the questions relate to those famous faces. So yeah, it's a fun panel show, much in the spirit of Have I Got News for You or Uptown Cats.
I was going to ask you, would you do another tour, Little Britain tour? Would you ever do any specials?
Maybe one day. It's hard to say because I think years ago things would go away, and so people had nostalgia for them. Like when I was a kid, I'd never seen Monty Python's Flying Circus until the early 80s, and it was repeated. So I was like desperate to see it. Now you can watch anything at any moment you want. You can buy a DVD, watch it on YouTube, whatever. So I'm not sure people can have nostalgia for Little Britain.
That's a really interesting
in a way
point.
that they might have had nostalgia for a comedy show that was on 20 years ago.
I don't know, because we had Paul Whitehouse in here a few months back, and he was saying, me and Harry would like to put all the things that we've ever done together and do all the characters. And you guys could do that as well, couldn't you?
You could mix your characters up.
Yeah, I mean, Harry has actually never hasn't toured since I think 25 years ago, or even more possibly.
Probably.
And I saw the Far Show tour, which was magnificent. So yeah, I'm sure there's an audience for it. Yeah,
Because you could round up your characters from that show that you originally did with the rock stars and everything.
I suppose we could. You'll give me a very, very good idea.
Well, it's not my idea. It's Whitehouse's idea.
I'd like to see the husband and wife pilots flying all the characters.
Oh, okay,
around the
yeah.
world.
Well, I suppose you could do one half Come Fly With Me, one half Little Britain or something. I don't know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
David Walliams' new novel, Billionaire Boy, is available from tomorrow. It's published by HarperCollins. And anything else to tell us about before you go? What are you up to later on today? I mean, I'm not, asking you out or anything. But,
What time would you like?
No, it's okay. Right.
Okay.
And on that bombshell, we'll say goodbye, David Walliams.
Goodbye. Thank you.
You're listening